Looks like there's some trouble a-brewing at Stone Mountain. And this comes to us by way of WABE radio via the Associated Press. Civil rights groups condemn Soulfest concerts at Stone Mountain Park. This came out July 27th. Welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy, here at Sunday night. Pipe and coffee in hand, as always. So it says here, civil rights groups are criticizing a concert series with black performers dubbed Soulfest that is being held at a Georgia park replete with Confederate imagery, including a giant carving of Confederate leaders. Oh my God! Stone Mountain Park, just outside Atlanta, and I've been there. Actually, I've been on top of Stone Mountain. It's pretty cool. Is where the Ku Klux Klan marked its rebirth in 1915. So they're trying to make the connection between the Ku Klux Klan back in 1915 and this Confederate monument at Stone Mountain, Georgia, and these concerts, saying that these concerts are promoting racism. Its colossal mountainside sculpture of General Robert E. Lee, actually it looks smaller in person, as most of these monuments or places you go to do, or tend to. Confederate President Jefferson Davis and General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson is the largest Confederate monument ever crafted and has special protection enshrined in Georgia law. Well, if this is such a problem, why aren't the people in Georgia fighting this? Why aren't they taking this to the ballot box and voting this down, taking down this monument? I know it's been a controversy for a while. They've been debating this. But why don't you take it to the ballot box? Vote on this. Well, we never thought of that. Now, the Soulfest concert series is a way to normalize and sanitize the hateful message of the park, said Atlanta NAACP President Richard Rose. Quote, they're saying this is okay. Get used to it. It's cool. He said in a phone interview on Thursday. Rose said he encouraged two of the bands to pull out of the event. They told him they were under contract and their music brings people together. So now they're in a conundrum. They can't figure out what to do. How about having this on the other side of the mountain? Or, here's an idea, why don't you use these concerts to raise money to get rid of this monument, this carving? I don't know how exactly you're going to do that. Could you picture these people climbing up the side of Stone Mountain with their chisels and hammers, trying to destroy this monument, this carving? I would pay money to see that. Quote, the music can't bring people together in front of this icon of the Confederacy, he said. Emails to the park and its management company, Thrive Attractions, were not immediately returned. A news release earlier this month, the park promoted Soulfest, as a new event that would allow families to experience a full day of fun, and that's in quotes. And an ad for the event on the park's website featured a photo of a smiling black man and a black woman on a lawn. Now that's just funny. So the event, which runs from Thursday night through Sunday night, features rhythm and blues groups, a gospel singer, and a Prince cover band. Okay, so you have all these black performers, just to show you the progress that we've made since the Civil War. All these black performers, a Prince cover band. Prince was black. But somehow, Stone Mountain, Georgia is racist. I didn't know that a mountain itself could be racist. I haven't met one mountain that's told me, you know, I'm racist. This is just too funny. Another case of people having their panties in a wad just to make some noise. Quote, it's a bad faith effort to distance the park from the Confederacy, said Rivka Mazlish, last name Maizlish, the researcher with the Southern Poverty Law Center. And we know their reputation, the Southern Poverty Law Center. Quote, it's an effort to pretend that the park is for everyone while still maintaining this massive symbol of white supremacy. How many of these people who are protesting this monument have actually sat down and read? Now, I'm not saying slavery was okay here, all right? But if we're going to go down this rabbit hole, if we got to get rid of Stone Mountain, well, why don't you get rid of Washington, D.C.? Because wasn't Washington, D.C. built by slave owners? Just asking. Just asking. And you have a lot of black politicians in Washington, D.C. So some of the supporters say it's a tribute to their ancestors who fought in the Civil War, and most of this was. The Ku Klux Klan makes up a very tiny, a minute part of the South. And they've got membership all over the country. Not a celebration of white power. And for most people like myself who own a Confederate battle flag, that's the case. It has more to do with our roots, our ancestors, than it does with slavery or white supremacy. I'll say it right here. You want to come on this channel, you want to be a white supremacist, I will kick your ass. I don't tolerate that crap here. And those of you who watch the channel know that. I was saying that as a figure of speech, figuratively, YouTube. I'm not promoting violence here, okay? The park, 15 miles or 25 kilometers northeast of downtown Atlanta, attracts large numbers of tourists and other visitors interested in hiking to the top of the mountain. And if you haven't done it, you got to do it. You got to go to Stone Mountain. Got to go Stone Mountain. Starting to sound like a Southerner. I was born and raised in the South. But if you haven't done it, you've got to climb to the top of Stone Mountain. It's pretty cool. You have a beautiful, beautiful view. As far as the eye can see. Walking the grounds or seeing a light show in 2021, the park's board voted to relocate Confederate flags from a busy walking trail and create a museum exhibit that relates to the history of the site and the carving, which was completed in 1972 amid resistance to the Civil Rights Movement and desegregation by Georgia and other southern states. Okay, so let's back up here for a moment. So this was completed in 1972. Notice it doesn't say that this was the direct result of resistance to the Civil Rights Movement. It was saying here that it was completed during this time of this resistance to the Civil Rights Movement and desegregation by Georgia and other southern states. Well, why don't we point to Boston? Because there were busing riots in 1974 in Boston. Nobody talks about that. So maybe we should go and demand that all these monuments in Boston be taken down. In fact, we shouldn't even mention the city Boston, because at one time Boston was a major slave hub. Now, if you're creating this museum, or you want to have this museum to talk about the history of Stone Mountain, this monument, this carving, well, isn't that in itself racist? If you're claiming that Stone Mountain, Georgia, all these Confederate monuments are racist, isn't it racist to have a museum that talks about this? The changes approved by the board came amid a national reckoning on race that brought down dozens of Confederate monuments in 2020. How things improved because of that. Seriously, taking down a Confederate monument, I don't care what the monument is. It could be a Nazi monument, it could be monument of George Washington, statue of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. If you take all that down, how exactly is that going to improve race relations? It's not. People can improve race relations. Not a monument, not a statue, not a mountain. Because a statue, a mountain, a monument, it's not a person. It can't think. It doesn't know logic, reasoning. It doesn't know emotions like love, hate, joy. It doesn't know any of that. Because it's a monument, it's a statue, it's a flag, it's a mountain. The park, however, and notice this all goes back to 2020. You notice that? The park, however, still maintains the giant carving, which measures 190 feet across and 90 feet tall. The Soulfest concert will take place on a lawn that faces the monument just months after a Confederate group gathered there. So what? Again, why don't you just go ahead and have this on the other side of the mountain so you don't have to see the monument, this carving? Quote, it just goes beyond obnoxious and disgusting and gross that they're hosting these artists now and trying to pull in a different audience, said Brian Morse, a member of the Stone Mountain Action Coalition, an advocacy group that has called on the park to stop maintaining the carving. So I thought I'd share this with you. Story at WABE Radio via the AP. Trouble brewing at Stone Mountain. Civil rights groups condemning Soul Fest concerts at Stone Mountain Park. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can also follow me at Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes, because I write music in my spare time. Or you can go to Twitter, which I believe is now Twitter X or Elon's X. So it's Culture Confederacy at Culture Confed1 on the new Twitter X or X. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out, stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. And you know how we do it here. This is where the past crashes with the present. I'll catch you next time, and you all have a great Sunday.